What do we think of when we hear the word friend? Well, we think of a person who we like, someone who we like hanging out with, and someone who we trust. Sometimes our friends might even be so close to us that we call them best friends. But what if they hurt us? Not physically, but from the inside. Well, sometimes this might happen to us. We get into arguments, we have disagreements, and either one of us say something that we probably shouldn't have. And when this happens, we could possibly damage our relationship with our friend. In rare case scenarios, we can even end the whole relationship itself. Of course, nobody wants that to happen to their relationships. So, how can we stop this? Well, please read with me James chapter 3, verses 2. James chapter 3, verses 2. It says, "For we all stumble many times. If anyone does not stumble in word, he is a perfect man, able to bridle also his whole body." So back to the question, how do we stop this? The scripture here is telling us that we are all imperfect. But how does this help us? Well, it doesn't, because this scripture is telling us that we're all imperfect, implying that getting problems inside of our relationships with other people, friendships, they're all normal. It can't really be helped since we're all imperfect. What we can do, though, is to strengthen the relationship, starting with ourselves. So when we get into arguments, do we ever consider if we are the ones who are in the wrong? Or it doesn't even have to be an argument. If someone says something negative about us, do we ever consider if the problem is the way we take things in? Please look to Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 9. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 9, it says, "Do not be quick to take offense, for the taking of offense is the mark of a fool." Well, what if my friend says something unacceptable about me? The verse here isn't telling us to completely stop taking offense of the things that people say. It's telling us that we should not be quick to take offense, to take self-control and to not act impulsively, especially to the minor and unintended actions, because if we do so, then we could ruin our own reputation, or like the verse says, we would look like fools. For example, like if a friend of mine were to joke around and say that I was slow in the head, perhaps, and I were to reply with something very mean or disrespectful, what would my friend or people around me think? They would think that I'm a person that you can't really joke around with, that I am, short-tempered. Of course, some jokes may be offensive, but of course, yet again, do not be quick to take offense. But what if my friend does something really unacceptable? That can't really be helped. We can't really change them. It's their choice to change something about them or not. Some people today, worldly people, if a friend were to hurt them, they would completely cut them off their life and stop talking to them completely. But here, if we read Proverbs chapter 19, verse 11, it says, "The insight of a man certainly slows down his anger, and it is beauty on his part to overlook an offense." So if a friend hurts us, we try to take it as lightly as possible and not act impulsively. But then what after that? Because we can't stay angry at each other forever. We forgive them. Because just as the scripture says, it is beauty on his part to overlook an offense. It is beauty on our part if we forgive. One other thing we can do is consider how the other person may feel. We don't forgive just so that we can move on with our lives and feel better about ourselves. Because just like what Philippians chapter 2 verse 4 says, it says, "Look out not only for your own interests, but also for the interests of others." We want to consider how the other person may feel. So we forgive not only so that we feel better about ourselves, we forgive so that both us and our friend may have peace with each other and be happy. One other thing we could do as well is to consider why the other person may say something like that about us, or why they would think they're right. Who knows, maybe they actually are right. Uh, but yeah, when we do this, it will make it so much easier for us to forgive them. So we learn that if a friend hurts us, we take it as lightly as possible. We remember that we're all imperfect and try to not act impulsively. Then we consider the other person and forgive. Having these skills, learning them, is going to be so much more useful to us as we grow. The people we meet along the way is going to leave an impact in our life. So it is better to learn these skills now and prepare ourselves for what lies ahead.